Hi, I'm Tish, an independent motoring journalist, and behind me is the Kia EV9, Kia's seriously impressive all-electric 6- and 7-seater SUV. It's finally arrived at our dealers, which I'll list on the screen now. So if you wanted to come and have a look, then make sure you get in contact with them via the links down below. But today I'm going to tell you all of the fantastic features and figures of this great all-electric SUV. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. There is no denying that the EV9 is absolutely huge. It has a big presence in both the showroom and out on the road. Its boxy shape is, of course, to get the most amount of space in the back of this car because that is where the priority is. But Kia haven't forgot about making it aerodynamic. This has a really impressive drag coefficient figure of 0.28. That's around the same as the Hyundai Ioniq 5. In terms of design, you have these very cool LED lights which frame the outside of the vehicle with the diamond elements on the inside. You also have a really big grille at the bottom which opens and closes. You have this chrome bar which runs all the way along the front of the vehicle, and of course that great big Kia badge because they're very proud of this car. If you've driven other Kia products, it's not going to feel completely alien inside this cabin, but the EV9 definitely has its own personality, and that includes a new steering wheel which is dedicated to the car. It has this middle section which features a drive mode and terrain mode. Because this is the 4-wheel drive model, that means that you get a snow, mud and sand mode for dealing with all different types of terrain. You've got some physical buttons on the steering wheel which are nice and intuitive, and you also have the drive mode selector which is behind the steering wheel, slightly different to some other models. You've got a 3-screen setup. It looks like one continual screen, but it has 3 dedicated sections. That includes a digital dashboard. Then you have a climate screen, which remains on at all times, so you can always access your climate. And then to the left, you have your 3rd section, which is your main infotainment system. There isn't many physical buttons inside the cabin of the EV9, but you will find some haptic buttons along the bottom to help you navigate the screen. And further down, you'll find a few physical climate control dials, so you can always access them nice and quickly. When it comes to equipment, it's probably easier to say what this GT Line S model doesn't have, because it's absolutely packed full of all the equipment you could ever need, including a 360-degree parking camera, and it gets a clear sight rear view mirror, which sometimes I find clear sight rear view mirrors to not really make too much sense. But when you have a people carrier and the rear of your car is always going to be full of people, it's great to be able to see out of the back without their heads impeding your vision. It also gets things like automatic lights and automatic rain sensing wipers. It gets adaptive cruise control. It also gets brake regeneration, which can be turned up and down using the paddles behind the steering wheel. It gets heated and cooled seats if you go for this top spec model, and you also get a heated steering wheel. It gets electrically adjusted seats as well, and they also have that function to be able to lay all the way back, which is perfect for when you're charging. In the UK, the Kia EV9 can be had as either a 7-seater setup, like I'm sitting in today, or you can also opt for a 6-seat option. In the 6-seat option, you have 2 chairs in the rear, which can actually spin round to either face the rear seat passengers, or you can spin them to face outside of the doors. This means it's really handy for loading in child seats. But in the 7-seater, as you can see, I've got a ton of room. I've got loads of legroom, and I've also got plenty of headroom. It's going to be more than sufficient for carrying 6-foot people in the back. The middle seat is also fantastic. It sits up just a tiny bit higher, but I've still got plenty of headroom, even with this panoramic sunroof. That range of equipment doesn't just stay with the front seat passengers either. You also get access to loads in the rear, including USB-C chargers, which are built into the sides of the front seats. You also get heated and ventilated seats if you go for this top spec GT Line S, and you even get access to your own rear climate, so you can stay nice and toasty or nice and cool. So the second row is impressive, but the third row is downright outstanding. There is tons of room in the back here. I've got plenty of legroom, I've got loads of headroom thanks to the shape of the vehicle. I've also got access to 2 cup holders, 2 more USB-C ports, and this is amazing, I've even got electrically reclining seats. As I mentioned, you can choose between 2-wheel and all-wheel drive for your Kia EV9, and both come fitted with a 98.2 kilowatt-hour battery. If you wanted to get the maximum range of 349 miles, then you'd need to opt for the 2-wheel drive variant. It gets 200 brake horsepower and will sprint from 0 to 62 in 9.1 seconds, which is pretty impressive for a car of this size. If you wanted some added power, however, you could go for the all-wheel drive version, which adds an extra motor. This may bring the range down to 313 miles, but it gets 380 brake horsepower, and it cuts the 0 to 62 time down to just 5.3 seconds, which is pretty crazy. Practicality and storage is absolutely fantastic. Under this centre console, you'll find a huge storage bin where you could easily fit a handbag or even something larger. Further up, you'll find these cup holders, which can be covered up using the scroller, which looks nice and neat. These cup holders are great as well. They actually have removable cup holder areas, which means when you tuck them away, you can store larger items in that area. You then have some wireless phone charging, which is handy because the EV9 comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is wireless as standard. So it's handy if you haven't got a cable to have that wireless charging. Behind this, you'll find a little bit of extra storage, which is perfect for storing the key. The boot is also extremely practical. You'll find tether down points, you've also got hooks for your shopping, you'll find a 12-volt charger and electrically deployed rear and third row seats. And on top of all of that, you also get a 3-pin charge point. Now this works from the car's main battery, so it can even run household items in the case of a power cut. Boot space is absolutely vast. With all the seats in place, it gets just over 300 litres. But if you drop those third row seats, that then expands to just over 800 litres, which is as big as a Discovery Sport or an Audi Q8. But if you also drop the second row seats, then as you can see, you have an absolutely enormous load room. If you still needed even more storage, then you can find some more underneath the bonnet. This is enough for your charging cables, and it stretches to even bigger if you go for the 2-wheel drive model. Of course, as you can imagine, one of the biggest worries for a vehicle of this size and weight is going to be how well it handles, because you can't exactly expect it to handle like a Ford Fiesta. But you know what? It's actually very good. I'm on some twisty back roads and it actually feels quite at home, not like it's out of its comfort zone. Of course, the main setup for the Kia EV9 is comfort, and it's really good at doing that. It's super comfortable, soaks up bumps in the road really well, and it's also very quiet. Now, I am riding on some slightly larger wheels, which look sportier, and they do have a bit of trade-off of a little bit of tyre noise. But if you go for the smaller tyres, you'll barely hear any sound at all. So it's really comfortable and serene for long journeys. But if you go for the all-wheel drive version with all of that power, it's still pretty spirited in the way it drives. Every EV9 gets Kia's 800-volt charging technology, which trumps almost all of its competitors, with peak charging speeds of around 230 to 240 kilowatts at compatible public stations. That means a 10 to 80% recharge is possible in around just 24 minutes when you find a fast enough public charging point. Impressive stuff. Kia is playing the premium car brands at their own game and doing a better job of it. The Kia EV9 is a fantastic all-round, all-electric car with great range, great driving engagement, and a huge amount of space for up to 7 passengers. We love the Kia EV9 and we know that it has to be seen for you really to appreciate it. So make sure you come down and visit us at our dealers that are listed on the screen. We really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you had any more questions or queries, then pop them down below or get in touch with us via the links in the description box. Until next time, see you later.